Hi there. These comments are for A, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. And you are doing, it looks like, the integrated speaking practice test. Integrated writing practice test. I'm looking at it on the left part of my screen here. On the right part of my screen, I have the reading passage and the lecture that you are working with. And my first impression right now is I'm going to put you at 3.5 out of 5 or 22 points out of 30. So the first paragraph, you say, in the lecture, the speaker talks about the social networks and how it has its positive aspects in contrast to what the reading passage is arguing about. Now, I would state here, you probably want to put these ideas in separate sentences or maybe in a compound sentence. You can state these ideas as main points. And it looks like in paragraph 2, you're talking about the reading passage and then the lecture, and then the reading passage and the lecture again. So it's probably better to talk about the reading passage first here, and then the lecture second. That's going to be a little bit better. So we need to make some changes in this first paragraph. Okay, so instead of what you have here, I'm going to change the order around and say this. The author in the reading passage claims that social networks have limited interaction, create fake friends, and foster addiction. And the speaker in the listening passage disagrees with each of these claims. There it is. So there's our introduction. So I just changed the order of this. Now maybe here, you need to balance this out a little bit more here. So let me give you some ideas on how you can do this. So first of all, you're talking about the reading passage first, and then second of all, you're talking about the lecture. In this paragraph, I'm going to divide out a little bit more evenly and more logically the information in the reading with the information in the lecture. So notice here, this is what you wrote here, right? So I'm going to say, first of all, according to the reading passage, social networks have replaced human interaction. So people are participating in the social activities that they used to do. People are maybe not, I should say. People are not participating in the social activities that they used to do in order to build long-lasting relationships or friendships. In contrast, according to the speaker in the listening passage, our society has always used means of communication such as email, which is similar to how Facebook works. You might say, therefore, the speaker maybe does not see anything inherently bad about social networks. That's probably good enough there. So the thing is I'm taking here, if you look at it, so this is information about the reading. This is information about the listening. So you needed to balance that out a little bit more. It was a little bit hard to see what you were doing here. I don't think you developed that information enough. So that's why I made those changes there. All right, let's go to your next one here. Okay, we can probably work on this one. So I'm going to restructure this slightly too to make it a little easier to see the connections between the reading and the listening passage. So I'm going to make a few changes here also. In this paragraph, I've pretty much kept everything that you said, but I just changed some of your topic sentences slightly to make the connection a little bit more clear. I added that transition word in the beginning. So then we say, second of all, the author in the reading passage believes that social media has diminished the relations between friends in the process of building friendships into looking at photos and commenting on posts. However, according to the speaker in the listening passage, building friendships does not necessarily have to involve face-to-face meetings. To illustrate, the speaker claims that people used to send messages by mail to each other in the past for the purpose of creating friendships. And then maybe say, like these traditional methods, you might say, maybe social networks modern way for people to become friends. Maybe here we'll put a voice marker in there. Like that. There it is. That's it. So that's the main thing. You got to clean up a little bit with your compare and contrast organization. That's going to help you score higher. All right, let's look at your last paragraph here. So we're just cleaning it up just a bit. So we'll say the obsession and addiction is a result of the use of social networks. This, you probably need to develop this a little bit more. So let's go over here. It says that it's overtaking people's time and it creates a more dormant and repressed society. Until this activity maybe becomes all time consuming. You might say something like that. That's probably good enough. And then the lecturer disagrees with this idea, right? So we'll say conversely, okay, let's go over here, take a look at it. It's saying that addiction can be defined differently according to social norms. So we'll say conversely, so instead of creating repressed members of society, and that's a point that was mentioned in the reading passage, right? Are becoming the norm these days. So politicians and parents, for example, got to put this in here. So social networks asserts the speaker are becoming the norm these days. Politicians and parents, for example, are using social networks to communicate. Maybe you might want to say, so this method socializing has become a regular thing. Okay, I think we have it more or less, right? So how many words do we have here? Let's check it out right now. So we got 290, that's fine. So really, you had pretty much all the ideas in there. You have a pretty good understanding of the reading passage in the lecture. I gave you 3.5 out of 5 or 22 points out of 30. Because if you look over in the rubrics here, it says, even though your response is somewhat connected, it communicates unclear connection. So it's not always clear how the information in the reading relates to the information in the lecture, right? So what I did here is to try to show you how you can create a little bit more organized type writing response. Let's take a look at your reading passage one more time. So I've edited it, and I think with a little bit better organization, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to get 30 points out of 30 on this, right? So my edited version, I just made some organizational changes. I might have added a little bit more information. So paragraph 1, the author in the reading passage claims that social networks have limited interaction, create fake friends, and foster addiction, and the speaker in the listening passage disagrees with each of these claims. First of all, according to the reading passage, social networks have replaced human interaction. So people are not participating in the social activities that they used to do in order to build long-lasting friendships. In contrast, according to the speaker in the listening passage, our society has always used means of communicating such as email, which is similar to how Facebook works. Therefore, the speaker does not see anything inherently bad about social networks. Second of all, the author in the reading passage believes that social media has diminished the relations between friends and the process of building friendships into looking at photos and commenting on posts. However, according to the speaker in the listening passage, building friendships does not necessarily have to involve face-to-face meetings. To illustrate, the speaker claims that people used to send messages by mail to each other in the past for the purpose of creating friendships. Like these traditional methods, social networks, according to the speaker, are a modern way for people to become friends. And then the last one. Third of all, the obsession and addiction, according to the author, probably don't need to say this part here, is a result of the use of social networks because users are beginning to spend more and more time on these networks until maybe, let's make it plural, these activities become all time consuming. Conversely, instead of creating repressed members of society, social networks, asserts the speaker, are becoming the norm these days. Politicians and parents, for example, are using social networks to communicate, so this method of socializing has become a regular thing. And there it is. So those are some changes that I would make. Overall, the good thing is I think you have pretty good control of your language use. You don't have a lot of serious issues with either vocabulary or grammar. I think the main thing is probably the main message here is when you're combining information from a reading passage and a lecture, it's probably better to do that in separate sentences. You know, like you state 1 or 2 or 3 sentences about the listening or the reading passage first, then you follow that with another 2 or 3 sentences about the reading passage, and that will help show what the relationship is between those sources. And as you're moving from the reading passage to the lecture, you can consider using those transitional words of contrast. For example, here I say in contrast in paragraph 2. In the next one, what is it? I say however here. And then in the last paragraph, I use the word conversely. Reason I'm putting that is it shows that this is all the information from the reading. Here's the information from the listening. It kind of creates a clear boundary, and it makes it easier for the reader to see what information is connected to the reading, and then maybe which information is connected to the listening. All right, so thank you for doing this assignment. And what does that mean? One more thing here. So what did I give you? 3.5? So the syllabus here, 3.5, I'm going to put you at 82% on this particular writing project.